I guess I'm dreaming. Goes back to sleep. Welcome back to a wonderful review of Wonderful Precure, and today we're talking episode 14. And I probably should start this off by saying this episode surprised me. I feel like Wonderful Precure thus far has not really had true filler. I think I talked about this a little last episode. I'm not talking about the traditional definition of filler. I'm talking about the idea that there are episodes that have no plot in them. Like, you could easily skip them. Rant out of the way. It does not feel like we've had an episode that doesn't contribute to the overall story thus far, which is nice. I feel like there are a couple of reasons why this is occurring, but also I want to put out there that I enjoy that. I like that this story is moving every singular episode. I did not expect this one to have too much. I thought this was going to be a slower episode, just to kind of like buy the time. It was not. We still had the story really moved, especially in the second half. Now, I feel like the last time we've had a season where you had tried and true skippable episodes was Tropical Rouge. I think that is the last season where there were episodes you genuinely could completely skip. I think there are a couple that you could argue for the past few seasons, like Delicious Party and Hidogodu Sky. I think there's a couple you could argue, but for the most part, it stayed on point with story, and I think the primary reason why this is happening in Precure, that has been known to have a lot of skippable episodes, is on the grounds that there are streaming websites. I think that because these episodes no longer are just out in the ethos, children will watch them completely out of order. If you missed the, like, Sunday morning debut, then you're kind of screwed. You just don't know what happens that episode, and you just have to hope that it kind of roulettes back when it's aired on regular TV. But now with streaming websites, I do believe in Japan, Precure will just show up on a streaming website within like maybe 24 hours of the airing of the episode, one of the streaming websites, and your child can watch stuff in order. And I think the writers are taking full advantage of it. As somebody who likes writing long term, I personally would rather have it that you could move the story a little bit in every singular episode. And I think the writers here enjoy it. I think that's exactly what they do. I think they write a little bit more every single time. Anyways, all of that to say, let's get into our episode today, starting off with dear little Yuki being a little bit sick. Just a little sick moment. And we have Mayu. We go over to the vet, which is Iroha's house, which in hindsight is a very smart move. I think this is a great way to have the characters constantly coming together. I will say one thing that was weird about this episode, and I don't know what was really going on here, is that Mayu is wearing her school uniform, but none of the other kids are wearing their school. Like, Iroha's about to go on a walk and then run into Satoru, who's also not in his uniform. I don't know where we are with, like, what the date is. Like, is this after school? Is that what this is supposed to be? Like, Mayu, like, came home from school and was looking for Yuki. I kind of thought it was the morning, but maybe not. Like, is this, like, on a Friday? I don't know why I cared a little too much about that, but I was like, what's going on? Why is she wearing her uniform? Anyways, Yuki's sick, race is over. To which we have Iroha and her mother immediately leap up and take control of the situation. Mayu is in hysterics, which is relatable. If anything remotely negative happens with my cat, I assume that we are in code red. We're going down. Things are bad. Things are bad. But yeah, it turns out she's just tired. Which is the other thing, is that my cat is also someone who's not just sick most of the time. Like, she'll, like, cough up a hairball and whatnot, but, like, I've never really seen cats, like, have fevers or anything along the line, so, like, the diagnosis being your cat's just really tired is fair. Also, her cat is just really tired because she's, I guess, been running around as Kiranyami a little too much. Which it's glad to know, for as strong as she is, that there are limitations. Like, they're definitely doing great at power balancing the cast, which they usually don't do a good job at when they have new cures added to the team, but I appreciate the power balancing. Which all leads to this fantastic idea suggested by Iroha's mom, which is that they should just have a sleepover because they can have Yuki within a close vicinity, so that if anything happens, we're there with the vets, and then, you know, you get to have some fun with your bestie, which is Mayu's first sleepover, and it's really cute, and I'm vibing with this. It's a very adorable idea, but also terrifying to an introvert. And then, of course, we have to inform Satoru of what is going on. So we have this, like, unnecessarily beautiful, like, garden meetup walk thing. I don't know if we've seen this particular scene in the layout of the city thus far. We roll up and we just gotta let Satoru know what's going on. while also having this unbelievably beautiful garden chilling back. Like, I don't know if they were just like, our flower painter guy, he really wants to pop off today. Let's get some really beautiful looking flowers in here. Cause like, I'm sorry, why are these flowers going so hard right here? They're so pretty. And then Daifuku out here. We have not seen Daifuku in a hot minute, so it's glad to see Daifuku again. Immediately shading Satoru for having like a tinge bit of jealousy, which I thought he hid very well. I think he did a good job being like, oh, you're hanging out with Mayu, and you guys are having a sleepover, and friendship is important. I'm not jealous. I don't know who jealousy is. I've never heard of him. I also love that I'm assuming this is what Daifuku actually said, and Satoru was able to interpret it well. I think that's cute. I love how judgmental the pets are. All of the pets really be radiating some judgment to their owners. We have dinner, which I'm always gonna have a little anime food shot. Like, look how pretty this is. Oh, that's a good meal. I would eat that myself. Well balanced. The dad is clearly our chef. Our male wife has to make sure he's good at all of the household chores. We stand. Also, they have these popsicles. This is just a small rant for me. I have not seen the dual color popsicles in forever. We used to have them all the time as a kid. I've only seen them now come in like, if it's grape flavor, they're both grape, or if they're just both lime, but like, I haven't seen these popsicles in forever. I used to do this too. Like, there was some major nostalgia with this whole like sleepover thing. This is absolutely embodying all of the things I did at my sleepovers as a kid. Minus the pillow fights. That was there's no pillow fight here, and they're really missing out. This episode sneaks in its little nugget of what's going to be important later, which is we talk about like the hypersensitivity of animals. It's interesting that they go for Komugi with this. I don't know if this is something unique to Papillon, or I guess it does in dogs in general, is hearing those high-pitched noises and hearing higher frequencies than humans can. But I believe cats have higher sensitivity than dogs do. I've heard like there's like 30 muscles in cats' ears in order to just hear well. So we just slide that in there, as well as Mayu just kind of like appreciating the conclusion of her first sleepover. And then of course in the middle of the night we gotta bring in the garu garu, which we have the goobers goobering as much as they always do. Satoru's like me, I sleep so lightly. The second I hear any noise, I'm like, I'm awake. Like, Iroha was like, noise? Who's her? Don't know her. Komugi, obviously, with her dog ears. But Satoru has me ears, which is just, if you make any noise at night, I will hear it and I will be awake. It doesn't matter. You breathe a little bit, I've heard it. I'm awake now. And then there's this scene. So this is the other thing that I've really liked kind of about the balance of this season. It's not going to be for everybody, but I do appreciate that wonderful Precure has this level of realism paired with the typical like comedy that you get from a Precure series. Like typically Precure just like has the most goofy, silly moments in it, but it seems to embody, like with Iroha and Komugi, both of them have that goofiness attached to them. However, they don't get away with their goofiness in the way that another season would, because I'm so used to a scene like this playing out where the two of them are like talking and leaving and somebody wakes up and they're like, what's going on? And then Komugi's like, we need to leave! And the character being like, I guess I'm dreaming, goes back to sleep. But Mayu's like, this is real. This is the reality. I'm not, like, she's not just falling for it. She's like, Komugi just 100% talked and that was weird. And now they're leaving. I like it. I like this level. Like, it doesn't go too far, and I'm assuming Precure would never go to the extent where, like, the realism gets a little too real. Or, like, everybody in town finds out and, like, we ground somebody and they can't be a cure. We don't deal with that kind of drama. We don't get to the point where it starts turning into, like, a dark magical girl series. But I like this level of realism. It reminds me of Healing Good, where the first few episodes, there was also a level of, like, little girls shouldn't be cures. It's not good for them. But then, you know, ultimately brings it back as a magical girl series, and we're gonna need the magical girls to magical girl. I like that these series have been experimenting with that. I think it leads to cute little plot lines. This also made me feel feelings of her saying goodbye to Yuki, and Yuki being like, let me out of here because I can protect you. Let me out, girl. This is adorable. I've sat here and done this with my cat, but it's usually when I take her to the vet. And Mayu, of course, is like, I ain't gonna wait, I'm gonna follow you guys. Goes after them as they go towards the rooster garu garu. And we have Satoru come in as well, which I think this is one of the perfect usages of having somebody like Satoru, who is just a witness to everything that's going on. He has the full range to explain the situation, because he's like, I guess Mayu is now involved. I don't know if she knows their identities, but she looks pretty involved, and then goes on to explain the entire situation. We get our little, like, flashy back moment explaining the concept of the cures, which is also great for any kids who do miss episodes. We do get a recap here, so it does remain a little bit accessible for people who are watching it out of order. We tie that all back in to the frequency bit that we had in this episode, where it's like, well, Komugi is not going to be able to handle the intense noise of the rooster because her ears are more sensitive than a human's, which is also kind of ironic because she's in a human form, but, you know, nonetheless, we're just gonna vibe with it, you know, let it slide. And then Mayu rushes in wanting to help them. I also, again, on the little thing about realism, one thing that's kind of been something that's not quite an irk to me with the Precure franchise, or just Magical Girls series in general, is that for most of the entire franchise, if the cures are in their cure form, regardless of, like, communicating what their cure names are, people just start referring to them by their cure. Like, I was like, I'm pretty sure no one said their cure name, and then people just know the cure name at this point and refer to them only by that. The second they're in their cure form, that is their name. They will never be referred to by their normal name. I believe Horogoru Sky was one of the first seasons that I noticed that characters were being called their civilian names while in cure form. They didn't do it a lot, but they did it a couple times, and I was like, whoa, are we breaking the rules? This is another season that's doing that, where, for the most part, Mayu, she did watch the transformations, but she doesn't know what their names are, so, like, she doesn't really process who they are and what's going on. So she just starts referring to them as, like, Komugi and Iroha, and then, like, we do have Friendy be like, yo, it's wonderful and Friendy. Like, let's stick with the names. I like it. It's very, very small potato detail, but as somebody who has watched a lot of Magical Girl series, it's very nice to have that acknowledged. Like, I would assume more people would make that mistake. So, you know, again, a little bit of realism I enjoyed. But it just, overall, this is a very, like, very heartwarming sequence. Again, I am used to... Precure specifically usually has more of the strength in the first half of the show. That's usually where whatever, like, plot element is occurring or whatever lesson is being learned happens in the first half. They kind of just do the battle of the week, and then it just, like, wraps up. And it's like, everything's honky-dory. If we had a fight, we apologize. Like, we got over it. But this season has done a good job for when it needed to put a lot of soul into the battles. Like, the battles are still 100%, like, the chase sequences and everything are just a backdrop for whatever's going on. But every time there's been conflict between the characters and they address it in the fight, it's been good. Like, this whole sequence was unnecessarily moving. I did not expect this episode to go this hard. Having them, like, communicate that they're cures and, like, what they're doing, and they want to protect Mayu, but Mayu also doesn't want to just sit there and, like, kind of let it all happen. She wants to protect her friends. She wants to contribute in a way. It's so heartwarming and so cute. There's just so much passion in this. I was impressed that this episode was as good. Also, the music went hard. Like, there's a couple of sequences where I was like, I recognize that there is some good background music occurring right now. It's very, very solid episode for what it was. And again, they've been doing this for the past couple of episodes, where they've really drip-feeded into the build for Lillian, and I really appreciate that. I like, because we had Mayu meet... like, very small stuff every episode, but what has kept episodes from being completely skippable is that we had the episode where Mayu met human form Yuki. Next episode, she met Cure Nyami. Next episode, she was... or, well, when she also met Cure Nyami, she faced a Garu Garu for the first time. After that, she realized that Yuki and Nyami are probably this... or human Yuki and Nyami are the same person. She also met Wonderful and Friendy, and in this episode now she's met Wonderful, Friendy, and Satoru, and had the revelation that these guys are the cures. All of this building to her contributing to the fight in the same way that Satoru does, kind of deducing what the best way to handle this is, and saving the day. Also, we had the shields work. That doesn't normally happen. The shields were very useful this episode to dealing with the rooster. And we have this just, like, really heartwarming... all of these like, post-battle sequences have been very nice in these episodes. This one was very cute, where she's like, I'm so glad you guys, like, you know, made it. Ultimately, I came out here to save you guys, but you saved me. They're just very heartwarming. They also, I'm taking a moment here. Komugi's out here being like, hey, you want to be a cure with us? And she's like, no, I can't. I could never be a cure. Don't ask me that. I'll just be like Satoru. Be like Satoru. We never offered him to be a cure. Not that, like, Kamugi or anybody has any control over, like, letting someone be a cure, but we never offered that to Satoru. Like, he just got demoted to being, like, the support. We never were like, you should be a cure with us. Poor boy never had it on the table. And oh my god, it's been a rough week for anybody who thinks these guys are gonna be the mid-season cures, because there's been so much, like, the community's like, we've given it up. And I'm like, I'll hold out. But also, being in my Delulu era, I'm like, if he does not become the mid-season cure, can he become a movie cure? Like, give him something. Give him a bone. Please. And we end off with this cute sequence of just bonding together. And then, of course, see the princess herself very upset that she was stuck in a case the entire time. Imagine her trying to go into her human form and just, like, popping the case to pieces, and she's like, can't destroy this. But if there's anything we did get out of Yuki this entire episode, it is that she cares about Mayu and Mayu alone. She gets very jealous of anybody doing anything for Mayu, period, which I think is going to make her character so interesting, since she's going to probably be, with the lack of a better word, very catty when she starts talking, for reals, for reals. But I'm hoping that her passionately loving Mayu will be her thing, where it's like, she's like, you guys suck, but there's Mayu and she matters to me, so bye. I'm very hyped for it. Next week does feel like we're finally gonna get filler, but also those are famous last words. I think it's been great setup. I've really enjoyed it. I think this season's building very well. Now, seasons do tend to not do as well in the second half in regards to this, so I'm hoping it stays strong. But so far so good. There's a lot of good setup. I think what they've done with the characters really makes up for the lackluster fights. But that's just me. Anyways, thank you for watching the watch party today, and I will see you next time. Bye bye!